on.
Keep going.
Oh my god.
This endgame is so hard to watch. Obviously, I'm rooting for Tyler, but oh my god. Having put a rat in your mouth, that is messed up.
One more time. I've got his first rat. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Keep moving.
Rodney's got his first rat.
Come on, come on, go, 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 go.
Keep going, keep going. For you, we have...
Welcome back, fellow goblins. My name's Lila. This is Raphael, the crested gecko, and today I am going to talk about something not so fun, which is the animal abuse in the show Fear Factor. I recently drove to visit my parents in Chicago, and I vividly remember telling my father, "Oh, I bet you I would win Fear Factor." And my only frame of reference for the show was basically the 2000s, like Joe Rogan Fear Factor, and I never even watched it. I just knew like the premise of the show, and given that I was like a Marine Corps combat engineer and I work with all sorts of animals that are traditionally considered like gross and scary, that was why I had said that I bet you I would win. Little did I know that that show is just the animal abuse station. So Fear Factor is on today. It's an ongoing show, and it's now hosted by Johnny Knoxville. And the premise of the show is basically people having to face their fears in a variety of competitions, and like timed events and whatnot. It's a reality show, right? And it is very often at the expense of animals, and it very much banks on people's fear of animals and promotes the fear of animals at the expense of those animals and their health. And I'm going to get into that here in a sec. It actually gets pretty gnarly, so big trigger warning. I am going to show clips of what they do. It's not great. The reason I made this video is because it came to my attention, one of the challenges recently was that the contestants had to crawl through a glass tube full of water and snakes. These snakes were primarily boa constrictors, and then they had to grab a rat with their mouth and crawl back through. As they're doing this, there's quite a few things that are wrong here. They have multiple boa constrictors in this small enclosed space full of water as this person front crawls or army crawls through this, again, glass tube, oftentimes trampling over them or having them, wrap around their arms, just like treating them like props or obstacles, because that's what they are in this challenge. They're obstacles. They're not living, breathing animals. And they are essentially taunting these snakes, both physically and, by having them grab a rat with their mouth and then proceeding to trample over them. It is just so disgusting. And there's so many things wrong with this. One, boa constrictors, solitary species. So putting them with other boa constrictors in an enclosed space with a giant predator trampling over them is already horrible. There are so many stressors there. There's the stressor of being surrounded by other boa constrictors. There's the stressor of being trampled on by a giant mammalian predator. There's the stressor of having the water in there, being in an enclosed glass tank where additionally they can very likely see their reflection. It is horrible. It is disgusting that they even thought that this is okay to air. It is so abhorrent to me that animal abuse is okay so long as it's inflicted upon animals that are not traditionally seen as cute. If this had been cats or dogs that they were like using as props, as obstacles, then there would be outrage. But there's not. There's not outrage because it was snakes. And this is far from the first time that Fear Factor has abused reptiles. They had another competition, and I'm using that in air quotes, where they had their contestants in like a glass box, and they proceeded to drop living animals onto them.
Oh my God! Ethan, you have pigeons.
Ethan, bro!
Rodney, you get lizards. No.
So the reason I actually have Raphael here as my sort of animal that I wanted to show you guys is to show you guys how crested geckos are just these amazing, lovely, interesting, beautiful animals. Not a thought in his head. But that aside, Raphael's actually kind of a menace. That's why I don't really use them for education. But I love crested geckos. I love, love, love crested geckos. Here's some things about crested geckos. One, solitary species. Crested geckos do not like other crested geckos. They are a solitary species. Two, despite being an arboreal species, they are still a small reptile. They are still fragile. So dropping them from great heights, despite being arboreal, still will likely cause some sort of skeletal damage in addition to stressors. One of the animals that they dropped onto these contestants was a bunch of crested geckos. And there are so many things wrong with this again. Aside from the physical ramifications of potential injuries from dropping these small animals from a height onto people, as if, again, there's some sort of obstacle, it additionally is just reinforcing this idea of like how reptiles, their lives matter less than any other animal. Their lives matter less than those that are considered cute, like I said. And the whole premise of the show is just abhorrent to me, in that it is making its money from banking on people being afraid and continuing to be afraid of these animals. Now, in addition to crested geckos, they also dropped a bunch of ball pythons onto one of the contestants. This is, I'd argue, I mean, they're both abhorrent, they're both terrible, just disgusting that they did this. But I'd argue it's even worse that they did this because ball pythons, also very solitary, are also a mostly terrestrial species. Crested geckos, at least, are sort of built to survive long drops, as they are an arboreal species. Ball pythons are not. So a lot of those snakes that were dropped very likely have skeletal damage and internal organ damage from being dropped from that height. And that's aside from the fact that they are being dropped onto a person who is panicking. They are making very frantic physical movements. To these animals, we are predators. To ball pythons, to crested geckos, we are predators. We are much larger than them. We are warm-blooded. We are the predators to them, not the other way around. So, fear factor, in conclusion, is dropping solitary species with a variety of other solitary species from a great height, causing skeletal damage, internal organ damage, causing immense amount of stress onto the animals because they are being dropped onto a giant panicking predator. And it is just disgusting. I don't know how this show is allowed. Actually, I do. It's because animal rights so often don't apply to reptiles. Again, people don't see reptiles as equals to mammals because they're scary. Which, these aren't scary animals. They're just not. This is, I mean, he eats insects and fruit. Okay? There's not much going on in that head, but these are wonderful, beautiful animals that deserve as much respect as any other animal, and to use them in entertainment in this way just to make a quick buck and to profit from fear-mongering surrounding misinformation and promoting misinformation and promoting that, again, these animals are less than others. It's disgusting. And Johnny Knoxville should be ashamed. Everybody involved in the show should be ashamed. Fear factor is disgusting. And I don't think that it should be allowed to air. And I think we need stricter laws surrounding animal welfare regarding reptiles, because I don't understand how this is allowed. Animal welfare laws surrounding reptiles are almost non-existent, and it needs to change. So thank you guys so much for watching. This one wasn't quite as fun, but I'm really passionate about this, so thank you. Bye.